Yay! That was a wonderful fade out, wasn't it? Very, very great technical situation we have here. It's my laptop on my bed. Anyway, so welcome to another video of video blog monologues with Airwrecka. We were starting things off with the Queen of Soul, Miss Franklin. May she rest in peace. And this song is also important to vocal empowerment, and we will be performing a parody of it next week as well. And it is Climate instead of Respect. So there you go. But this video we are going to talk about another great question slash statement. Solutions and strategies for positive change that you have seen in your internship. And there have been a lot of these strategies and solutions. As I mentioned last video, Beth does a really good job of bringing in real world issues. So a lot of what the girls do at the beginning of class, or at the beginning of the session essentially, is Beth just comes across different public comment type things. And so the girls, we go over what the issue is about. Usually it involves environmental issues, and then they have a chance to write and leave a public comment for all to see. Usually it's under my name or Beth's name, or there's another older girl there, and it's usually under their name, so they're not like really getting their names out there, but it is their words, which is important and a key aspect of Speak.World's vocal empowerment curriculum, which they're carrying over throughout the years. And also, that reminds me, this is very off topic and goes back to what I was talking about in the first video, but as I said, it's a train of thought and we're just gonna roll with the punches, and I'm already 2 minutes in and I can't start over now. But when I was initially looking at internships, I was really interested in the 12-week vocal empowerment curriculum sessions that Speak.World does, which was what originally drew me to the organization and to Beth. And then the Boulder girls did that. They finished their curriculum slash 12-week session last semester. So they are just kind of starting brand new, starting fresh, and that's A-okay and cool, but not really what I was looking for. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I just assumed they would be, picking up where they left off, and another 12-week program that was very structured, had a set curriculum, but that simply was not so. So that was another thing that was a little surprise, and that just popped up in my head when I mentioned curriculum, which is why I mentioned it here. So if you remember that from a couple videos ago, there you go. If not, that was totally random, and I'm sorry, but that's just how it goes sometimes. Anyway, so I was talking about positive changes that I am seeing in the internship, and so I am seeing a lot of secondhand positive changes and solutions and strategies from the work that Speak.World has done, especially as I was researching for the for org ecology. I really came a lot of super positive things that Speak.World has done, and how they have really boosted self-confidence and just being able to speak, which I am having trouble doing right now, but for young girls in marginalized communities, which is so important, and giving them just finding their voice essentially, and knowing that their voice has power and authority, and that what they have to say is important and people are going to listen to them. And so I saw a lot of great work with that, and then the girls going into their communities and talking about issues that are important to them and where they are, Guatemala, Tanzania, and Egypt. I don't know much about the Egyptian program, but it sounds very cool, and if it's following the curriculum, I no doubt think that it'll be doing great things. But another thing that is I just wanted to mention that was so cool is I love how Speak.World uses teachers and community leaders from these communities so that it's not, two white ladies just going in there and being like, this is what we can do to help your voices be heard. But that's essentially what they're doing, but they are using the community partners and community leaders and making sure that cultural values and norms are being heard and respected and listened to, which is something that is so important, and I love them for that. But more first-hand experiences I'm seeing is Beth does a really great job of showing these ladies here in Boulder what power their voices have. Excuse me. For example, a couple weeks ago there was a call for public comments on the fuel efficiency standards for cars and light trucks, which was something that the Trump administration was getting rid of. Classic. He totally would do that, right? Yes, he would. And Beth came across this and said, this is going to be a great thing. We're going to dedicate a portion of our time to this during our weekly meeting. So we talked about it with the girls, and Beth was like, the government legally requires people is legally required to respond to public comments, and if they can't individually respond to everyone, they can kind of respond to the concerns that are being brought up. So what we did was we had just the girls talk about concerns that they would be facing if the standards were taken away, and it was the response that they had. I don't remember them exactly, but I remember them being very profound and incredible, once again, for young women, and that was just so great. Young people, it was just very good. It was really good. And once again, we typed up these comments, and we just added our voices to the public comment section for this, which was really great. I would like to know sort of what happens to these things. I think we could do a little better of a job following up. Maybe I will suggest that to Beth in our next meeting, because I think that it'd be important for everyone in the room to see where their voices are going and what is the result of them commenting on things like this. And we're also part of this online worldwide blog called World Pulse, and they had a call just to talk about climate change in their community, and Beth did a wonderful thing of getting the girls to talk about the 2013 flood, and she said by connecting to their own extreme weather experiences, the 2013 Boulder flood, the young girls were able to understand how our collective security is tied to our ability to maintain a stable climate. And the girls had a chance to just speak their truth and say what how the flood experienced them and different things like that. And then Beth transcribed it into a blog post, and people from around the world were able to comment. We got 3 whole comments and 5 hearts, which I think is super good and super cool. And then the girls next week were able to see what people were saying, and that was really nice. The last example I have is another public comment and public participation type thing that we did with the girls, and this was about the Alaska roadless rulemaking proposition, and essentially the government in Alaska wants to keep, let me get my notes, preserve and conserve roadless areas characteristic to Tongass National Forest in Alaska, and the young women had a chance to, once again, speak their truth and say, even though that we're not in Alaska, this is still an important issue to us, and we are getting our voices out there, and we deserve to be heard and listened to. And one of them said, I forget exactly what she said, but she essentially made a Lorax made a Lorax reference, and it was very wonderful, and I loved it. And she said, I speak for the trees, It was very nice. And then there are also all sorts of other things that we'll be doing for positive change. Next semester we have like a family fun day at the museum, so we'll be working with Claire and the CU Museum, which will be super fun. But next week we have a 10-minute slot in front of a lecturer, and in that 10-minute slot we'll just be doing those 2 songs and sort of talking a little bit about vocal empowerment, which will be super fun. But the lecture that we'll be talking in front of is actually super cool, and it is by a Swedish professor whose name I cannot pronounce, so I'm not going to try for fear of butchering it, but I am very sorry about that, Swedish professor. But she's coming to the university to talk about the importance of young people and climate justice, and how many young people experience hopelessness or pessimism when they're talking about climate justice, but her argument is that these young people, as the future leaders and who will be facing the repercussions, the costs of climate change the most, we need to do a sort of better job of talking about climate change with them, and she will be talking about how to best communicate with and educate young people about climate change, and a lot of her work focuses around young people and climate change, which is super cool, and it's just a great little tie-in to our work in vocal empowerment, especially this semester as we focus mainly on climate change and young women's voices. Yep, so that's all I have for this video, but as I mentioned, as you can see, there are a lot of super good solutions and just things that are happening to promote positive change, and every week there's something new, something fun, and I'm sure there's a lot of positive change just happening in these young girls just by experiencing and being a part of such an amazing program and organization, and that's really powerful. So with that, I will play some more RESPECT, and see you next video!